Hi guys, I'm MC for Truth, and I'm here today with Steve Wand and Jacky, who are both ex-coordinators from the Connecting Consciousness group. They can fill us in what region, etc., that they were a part of doing that. So I'll hand over to you, Steve. Let us know a little bit about yourself and kind of what's led us here to this point and to you speaking today on my channel.
Okay, mate, thank you. Well, I was a member of Connecting Consciousness for about a year. By the time I was asked last November to step up to the role of Lincolnshire coordinator, we had a membership in the county of about 144 people. It was a role I'd never done before, but I agreed to take it on board. I was happy to take it on board, and I enjoyed my time as a coordinator. I'd long supported Connecting Consciousness and agreed with its principles and ideals and so on. But while I was in the role as Lincolnshire coordinator, I did notice a few policies starting to creep in that I was uncomfortable with. And I know from feedback from my members that they were also feeling the same level of discomfort. I was working alongside other coordinators in the England region. I think there was 15 of us in all, one of which was Jacky. And because of the geographical location, Jacky and I were working closely together. So maybe you'd like to introduce yourself now, Jacky, and just give a bit of background as to what brought you to this place.
Yeah, so I got introduced to Connecting Consciousness through a friend who had dealings with Simon Parkes many years previously, and he said to me, I think you'd quite like it, because I'd always had a bit of an interest in aliens and ETs, and I wanted to find out more. So I joined in April 2020, and I was sort of really beginning to enjoy it. Simon and Becky Parkes were running the Zoom calls because they had no coordinator at the time. And then suddenly out of the blue, having been with them maybe 4 or 5 months, I got asked if I would like to take over as coordinator, and I felt quite chuffed actually. And I took it on literally as a kind of a hobby. Because at the time we were having lots of lockdowns and that, so it mainly consisted of Zoom calls. I thought I can do that, and that's what I did. And Simon said he would continue to do every other Thursday up to Christmas, and I would do the ones in between. And eventually, because I started to handle it okay, they kind of came off it a bit more, and I carried on. The group was quite small at that time. And over the period that I was coordinator, which was about 16 months in total, I loved all my members. I really look forward to the Zoom calls. We used to have a great time. We used to do these things called breakout rooms, and we used to get into some really great discussions about just about everything under the sun. And I really think my members like me. Some of them actually love me. And yeah, it was wonderful. I enjoyed it. But then, as Steve said, suddenly rules and regulations started creeping in. We would start at 7:30 on a Thursday evening, and we would have to do a protection prayer, which I kind of understood because there was concerns that maybe entities of a bad kind might creep in. But people started to feel not very good about that because some people had their own religious beliefs, some didn't have any beliefs and didn't want it, and others were sort of quite professional at all of this and used to protect themselves prior to it. So a lot of them started to say, look, we don't want this because it's ruining our Zoom call. And so they would not start to come in until after 8 o'clock. And me and Steve started to pick up on this, that our numbers were dropping off. So we put this to our England coordinator, and that's how it all started. They didn't like the fact that we were trying to be the voice of our members. And we ended up getting the brunt of it, didn't we, Steve?
Yeah, just a bit.
So one of these things that you were talking about was a statement. Is that right? That was being asked to be read out at the beginning of each
Yeah,
meeting?
one of the things that crept in round about the end of 2021 were what was called monthly spiritual topics,
Yeah.
where we would all receive instruction, all the coordinators would receive instruction on how to deliver the topic of the month. Now, on the face of it, that seems quite a sound idea. But when you look at what sort of organisation CC builds itself as, one of the things it states is that it's undogmatic, which means it's free from things like ideologies, tenets and beliefs and that sort of thing. And yet here we had what I would call the thin end of the wedge, where they're starting to bring in protocols one by one, that's starting to introduce the very things which they say on their website that they don't actually do. And I do know that some of the members were quite uncomfortable about this, and it did result in a decline in the numbers. Now, in my February report, which I delivered to Simon and Becky, I did make comment about this decline in numbers, and I asked the question as to whether they thought it was because of the protocols that were being introduced. Simon's response to that was to ask for my resignation, which a bit stupid, really. You know, all I was doing was exactly what I was supposed to do as a coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very reactionary and very over the top. Yeah. And it's a story that I've heard time and time again from ex-members, ex-coordinators. And some of them are saying, you know, oh, we tried to arrange something that Simon didn't know about, and he got very angry and asked us to leave. And sometimes it is literally, I asked Simon a question. I softly and politely challenged him on something. And this then seems to lead immediately in dialogue with Simon to, you know, perhaps it's not right that you be here, or you should think very carefully about your position here, or
that's it exactly. And you hit the nail on the head with the word challenge. If you challenge Simon, as I did in February, I think you're perceived as a threat, and you're perceived as a threat that needs to be removed. And I don't just say that because of my own experience. There were a lot of coordinators who went by the wayside prior to my arrival on the scene, who had suffered exactly the same fate. They'd stood up in support of their members. They'd stood up in support of what they believed was right, and in accordance with CC's own protocols, and they were sacked because of it. And it's a ludicrous situation to be in.
I mean, stop me if I'm wrong. Isn't part of the the idea of this organisation is that to be free thinkers and to challenge what the status quo, as it were. You know,
Exactly
what the government is telling us or putting on us, etc. You know, so to be in an organisation where it would seem that is run in an authoritarian manner, where actually, you know, if you don't follow the line, you're at risk of being thrown out. We need people to be robots and do as we tell you.
That's it exactly.
That's what it seems like. Look, that's from looking from the outside in and hearing the stories from many ex-members and people that have been kicked out. It seems it almost always is about, I asked some questions and I didn't like it, or we tried to show some evidence or some of my work or something like that, and I got kicked out even sharing it. No discussion around it. No, don't do that again. Just remove from the group.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, if you go on the CC website, it declares itself as a spiritual organisation, but not just only that, it declares itself as a grassroots spiritual organisation. Now, grassroots means that it's either constitutional in nature or it's centrally controlled. It's not controlled from this top-down hierarchy. Yet what you have in reality is an organisation. I don't know how many members there are worldwide. I know how many members Simon claims there to be worldwide. but Simon's grasp on reality is, I think, quite a tenuous one. But however many members there are, they are being denied a voice. If they stand up in defiance of any of the protocols which the parties seem to want to introduce, they are targeted and removed. When I was sacked in February, it wasn't the sacking that made me so disgusted. It was the fact that in the time it took me to go from this room through to my computer, to boot up the computer to contact my members, I'd already been cut off the CC database. All my communications with CC and CC's members had been severed. So, you know, I was being treated by a leper already, and basically ring fenced. Now, I knew well enough that Simon's actions in ring fencing me were simply to allow him to control the ensuing narrative. And I decided at that point that I wasn't going to go quietly. Now, whether Simon thought that because I was a coordinator in the spiritual organisation, I was just going to go shuffling off into the horizon, wringing my hands and weeping into my herbal tea, but that didn't happen. I decided to let the other England coordinators know exactly what had gone on, and I also let them know what I thought of Simon as a result of his actions.
Yeah.
I mean, he had shown complete blatant hypocrisy. So I was quite happy to refer to him as a hypocrite in the email that I sent to the England coordinators the following Monday. And it was that email that I sent to 15 coordinators that prompted Simon to engage his lawyers.
That's right. So he's engaged his lawyers and given you a legal challenge.
Yeah, just a bit.
And declared you a liar. Is that correct?
He sent an email out in response to mine that I'd sent to 15 coordinators.
Yeah.
You see, I decided then not to include the membership.
Sure.
I was trying to leave the membership out of all this. This was something
difficult, though, Steve, wouldn't it? Because he'd cut us all off from our database.
Yes, he had. Yes, he had. So I contacted the 15 coordinators with an update of what had gone on, the fact that I'd been sacked. I pulled no punches in my opinions and such like. And Simon's response to that was to send an email out to the entire East Midlands and West Midlands membership of CC, which was, I don't know, close to thousands of people.
But we don't know if he may have sent it out to the whole membership. That's the thing. We don't know, do we?
We don't know. I'm pretty sure it went to the East Midlands and West Midlands.
Yeah, which would have been just under 2,000 people, I would have thought, would it? Yeah.
And in that email, he declared 3 times that I was a liar.
Right.
I've challenged him since then through his lawyer to state what lies I'd made, and he's not been able to come up with anything.
So, can we look at the email where all this started? So, as we said before, they'd sent out an email. Becky had sent an email. Is that right? On February the 2nd,
yeah.
Becky Parks posted on the CC Skype platform instructing a protocol be introduced into subsequent CC meetings.
Yeah.
So tell me if I'm wrong, stop me if I'm wrong. I'll read it out. And the message said, "Dear all, this has been created by the US team, and I would like it to be read out at the start of every meeting, whether hosted by a coordinator, SGL, or event host. It very nicely sets the scene and mood for the meetings." The message that they wanted to be read out said, "This is a reminder that the key part of each of our roles as members of Connecting Consciousness is to create a safe and sacred spaces for members to meet, interact, and have open dialogue. This space is friendly, honest, and embracing. We encourage members to do their own research and engage in healthy and respectful debate." I can see a bit of hypocrisy here, but let's avoid argument. We are here to support each other. To maintain a positive energy and welcoming space, belittling one another, name calling, and spreading misinformation about CC members or leaders, I want to highlight that bit, and volunteers is never acceptable. Personal information shared at gatherings is confidential. This means that all members will agree not to divulge any personal information other than their own, shared at gatherings or with anyone, fair enough, including spouses, friends, colleagues, or other CC members who were not at that gathering. We can be living as long as we long for the world to be, with respect and caring for all, regardless of differences. Please refer to the CC Code of Conduct for more information. So one of so this is the statement that's right, isn't it? This is the statement that
that's the one
you brought up and said, well, you know, I don't think, you know, could this be why people are not turning up at the beginning, or why our numbers are dropping? Do you think it's really within the way that, you know, the CC should, you know, is supposed to be being run? Is this right, or is it a bit hypocritical? One of the things I wanted to highlight is the point where it said that no name calling, spreading misinformation about CC members, leaders, and volunteers is never acceptable. And there's so many people that have said that they've been kicked out for sharing my videos or wanting to ask questions around them. This was out on the 2nd of February, and not just my videos, but other information that's been brought forward from other sources, etc. But I mean, I know that has happened over some of my videos, especially when I did those with Marie Kayali, the Make Me Your Master Simon Park Exposed videos. This came out on the 2nd of February, which I believe was the same date where I put out a post saying I was working on a Simon Park's expose.
Oh, right, I didn't know that.
Yes, so I had put out community posts saying I'm working on this expose, it's going to be big, but give me time. It's going to involve a lot of editing, and obviously I ended up putting it out in two parts. One that basically I interviewed Marie around the whole story and got the whole story about it, and the second one was all the emails and evidence, and we went through them all. This email that you say was put out on the 2nd of February, that was the same day that I put out that community post saying I'm working on something big around exposing Simon Park. And obviously Simon had sent out an email, I'm not sure if you guys received it, but previously to certain coordinators in England, with a picture of me from the previous video that I did with
I saw it.
Kevin Moore, the Lethia Project, and quite a few others. There's quite a big panel actually, which I've been struck with a defamation complaint from Simon, and has been removed. You can't view it in the UK at the moment. So if you want to see that and you're in the UK, you can use a VPN to change over to, you know, an American IP and watch it. Or, you know, at some point I'm going to upload it on BitChute or Rumble. But we all got hit with a defamation complaint. Kevin Moore, Truth Seekers channel, we had to, it got taken down for defamation complaint. Once that happened, that obviously struck a nerve. It caused some controversy within in CC, and yes, he sent out an email, as you said, you've seen it, with a picture of me saying that I've been infiltrating CC meetings. Look out for this guy. He's I think he said something like he's, you know, paid opposition, deep state, or whatever. So you guys saw that email? You got that email?
Yeah, I did. I saw that come through. But on the back of that protocol that you've read out, I'll just now read out an extract from the coordinator's guide.
Okay.
See if you can spot the contradictions there.
Right.
It says, attitude is an important part of how we treat our members. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can control is our attitude. Our attitude towards members is the main element of service which forms a lasting memory of their dealings with us. Courtesy, friendliness, helpfulness, a smile, these are the elements of service that make a warm welcome. Create a space for others to feel comfortable and relaxed to speak and take part in the conversation. Now here's the bit that got me. Listen with an open mind and avoid prejudice. Yet the protocol that you've just read out is prejudging the behaviour of our members. Prejudging our members and finding them wanting and having to warn them not to tell tales about each other, not to call each other names. It's straight out of the kindergarten. this stuff. It
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
A lot of members were saying that it was playground stuff, weren't they, Stephen?
Playground.
They were quite offended by it, to be honest.
Well, I do
Yeah.
question the mentality that brought it into being in the first place, to be honest. I mean, you're dealing with adult people. Yes,
Yeah.
people foul up, we all do. But reading out a protocol at the start of every meeting isn't going to automatically put people on their best behaviour. People will foul up, and you deal with it as and when you need to. That's the thing.
The way they saw it was, we were doing the the protection prayer. Then the England coordinator that was on the call with us started to do these rules and regulations, and week on week they got longer and longer and longer, and people were sitting there like this, and in the end, they, as I say, they started coming on after 8 o'clock, because once we started doing that, having to do that third thing, that would have really ruined it. They were bored. They were bored with it, and they used to love and look forward to their Thursday evenings, and that took up a whole half an hour of their time of getting into the conversations they really wanted to get into.
Being repeated over and over again is kind of condescending.
It is condescending. It's belittling the members.
Absolutely.
In direct contravention of the CC's own codes and standards. I mean, the level of hypocrisy is absolutely nauseating. It really is. And the deeper you go into it, the more sickening it becomes. And then when you stand up against that, and the founder of a spiritual organization then engages his lawyers to come after you for up to £50,000 damages because you called him a few names, you really can't make this shit up.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
When he said that he is on the side of common law, and then goes,
that's it. I mean,
engaging in maritime law.
He's on public record as supporting moves towards common law. And what does he do when somebody starts calling him names? He engages a maritime law firm to do his fighting for him. Now, if only Simon would man up instead of lawyering up, none of this would be necessary. He would sort out his problems face to face, man to man, like anybody else would, and get them resolved. But no, he goes trotting off to his lawyers and engages his lawyers. But
if
the
you're such a
question
trustworthy man and you've got nothing to hide, then why wouldn't you talk things out? You've got all these people that follow you, support you. Why would you not air out these issues and deal with them in that manner rather than dismissing everyone and threatening them with lawyers? And for me, it screams of someone that's insecure, that has something to hide, that wants to shut people up before any further discovery is made, any further before it gets any worse and spreads amongst
and the other, sorry to interrupt you there, but the other thing is that both myself and Steve, I mean, it's really hard to find people who will give up their valuable time, because our workload was we were constantly being promised we would get paid. I actually wasn't bothered about getting paid. I took this as a bit of a hobby, but the workload was getting more and more and more. My other half thought he became a CC widow, to be honest. I was always on Zoom calls, on coordinator meetings, international coordinator, this meeting, that, it was getting more and more. But the fact is that that payment was never going to come. As far as I know, I mean, I don't think it's even come now, but I do know coordinators that started with him when he first started up, I think back in 2015, and they've told me that they were promised then and nothing's ever happened.
And I think that's the carrot that's kept a lot of coordinators quiet. You see, when I raised my objections to this protocol, we had a coordinators meeting, an England coordinators meeting, and every one of those coordinators supported me and backed me in my stance. And of course, the England coordinator would have taken that back to the Parkses, Simon and Becky Parks, who no doubt weren't too chuffed with it. And I'm guessing at that point they decided to do something about it by removing the spokesman, which was me. But they all supported me. Yet when I was sacked, they seemed to disappear into the woodwork, and I never heard from them again, with the exception of Jacky, of course, who supported me to the hilt. And I do believe that it was this perpetual carrot that Simon's dangling, this prospect of being paid, that's keeping them on board. And quite tellingly, when he did sack me, he said, "You know, Steve," he said, "it's such a shame." He said, "We're only 4 weeks away from funding. 4 weeks away," he said. "We're so close to funding," implying that, 4 weeks' time, I could have been paid if I'd kept my mouth shut.
If only you would have kept giving in to him, Steve.
Yeah, you nearly got that carrot. You nearly got the, what was it? That 30 grand a year? Was he promising people?
Something like that. But that was on the 18th of February, and where are we now?
Way past 4 weeks.
Still not materialised.
It's such a shame because Steve was a fantastic coordinator. His members loved him, and he's such a lovely man. Honestly, really is. I just don't think they realised what they were getting rid of at the time, and I think it's really sad that not enough thought was put into it. And if Simon was the sort of person that could have sat and done a call like this with us and ironed everything out with us, things would have been a lot different. We probably would have still been there. And like I say, I think, I'm not trying to big myself up, but I do believe our members really liked us. And they look forward to seeing us on a Thursday evening on a Zoom call. They all started looking forward to the fact we could start meeting up. And we started doing lots of meetups, didn't we, Steve?
We did,
and
yeah.
they were brilliant. And then this, I mean, I don't know if you want to go into my side of it now, Steve.
Yeah, that'd be a good point. Before you do, I'll just pick up on what you just said about the members supporting us and appreciating our efforts. When I was sacked, although I was severed from the CC database and the communication system, all I had left was a Telegram page which I'd set up myself for my county members. And when they found out about my sacking, the level of support I got on that page was absolutely mind-blowing. It completely blew me away. I couldn't believe some of the comments that the members were making, in support of me. And when I did my letter on the following Monday to the England coordinators, I made sure that those comments from my members were on that letter. In actual fact, I gave my members the last word because I thought it was only right that they had the last word. Simon's actions, yes, okay, it impacted on me in that I've been sacked, but it directly impacted on them. And one of the things that Simon was completely oblivious of was the level of support that I was personally giving several members in the Lincolnshire area at that time. I mean, there was a lady who had been isolated from her family because of her worldview, which was contradictory to theirs, and she was going through a hard time. And I was offering her support and encouragement. There was another lady who had got issues with the NHS because they were denying her treatment because she was refusing their protocols. So I was helping her with her complaints letters and things. Simon had no idea of that. And yet when he severed me from the communication system, he terminated that support there and then. He didn't give a damn. He didn't give a He didn't give a damn about the membership. All he saw was me being a threat to his authority. And yet in my email, when I referred to him as authoritarian, he engaged his lawyers. Work that one out.
I think, like Jacky said, it's very sad. And it's a thing that I've heard time and time again. I've spoken to many ex-coordinators from different parts of the world, and nearly all of them have said about how they really enjoyed their role, that they felt that they were very well liked, and they would also say that if I'm talking with two of you like you have now, and Jacky said, well, Steve was a brilliant coordinator and a lovely man, and the same sort of character assessments they're giving about each other, us guys, were well liked, and we were heavily supportive, did all of this for free, in our own time, because we liked doing it, and we liked helping people. And again, that they had stories of people that really relied on them for support, whether it be something more, sort of material. Well, I say material, but something more substantial, or whether it even just be looking forward to logging into, to connect with them again, and severing that connection without a second thought because of something that's, for me, quite trivial and just minute and silly and could have been easily hashed out. But actually, the effect that can have by completely removing you from the group and having no regard for how much work and effort you've put in, how much that you are valued by the members within that community. No thought of any of that. Just, this guy's challenging me. I don't like, or this lady's challenging me. I don't like to be challenged. Get out of my club.
That's it.
And
Can I have my ball back?
That really just doesn't sit right with me from that. With that, and with this happening over and over and again in all of the little pockets of communities that are still compartmentalized in the different areas, and same stories happening in the groups, New Jersey, and all over in England, in Canada, and the same stories are coming out, and the same.
And it's tragic. It really is tragic, because connecting consciousness, the concept, is a good one. It's sound, and it's been a lifeline for a lot of people during the 2.5-year shit show that we've all been through. People being isolated from their families and friends, they have the opportunity to get together on a Thursday night on the Zoom call or in a regular meetup with like-minded individuals, and it has been a lifeline. If only the Parkses would just let go and let the coordinators do their job and look after their membership, everything would be hunky-dory. But they don't. They prefer to micromanage everything, and that begs the question: what's the motive behind it? Now they declare what the organisation's all about on their website, but how accurate is that? I'm starting to wonder what the overall agenda, long-term agenda, is actually all about for connecting consciousness, because from what I can see, it's now being run as a cult.
Yeah,
quite simply.
Exactly how I've described it before as well.
Yeah. Well, in my email to the coordinators, I made that point, and that's probably one of the things that Simon was rattled about. I put a extract from a study that was done by a cult expert, and this is what I said. That said, here's food for thought. Cult expert Dr. Stephen Hassan created what he called a BITE framework: behavior, information, thought, emotional, in which he listed several key elements that combine to define a cult. These include authoritarian control, discouragement of individualism, promotion of groupthink, imposition of rigid rules and regulations, instill dependency and obedience, instill black and white thinking, and encouragement of good and proper thoughts. Now, that all sounds quite familiar, doesn't it?
It does. Very much so.
Yeah.
Jacky,
did you want to talk about your experience?
So basically what happened was that after Steve got fired, I got an email from the England coordinator, and I'd had a one-to-one with him the week previous, and he said, do you think we could have another chat, another one-to-one, either Saturday or Sunday? Well, I was busy and I wasn't going to dedicate even more time over the weekend. So I said, no, I can do it on Monday. So on the Monday, I had this Zoom call with him. And I said, oh goodness, I thought I was for the chop today. And we had this really nice chat between us. We were discussing that Steve had gone. I did say that I thought it was disgusting because, he's a really good coordinator and it's such a loss to the membership. But it was basically to work out because what we used to do, the East Midlands and the West Midlands used to share the Zoom call on a Thursday evening. So there were literally 4 coordinators, one for Lincoln. I did the rest of the East Midlands. Then there was the England coordinator did the one for the West Midlands, and a lady did it for Gloucestershire. And so the 4 of us run it. And I said, now, I can't come on Thursday evening. So how are you two going to get on? Will you be okay Thursday night? And he said, yes, we'll be fine. Don't worry, we'll be able to cope. And when I said I thought I was for the chop, he said to me, oh, no, I wouldn't. You know me, I wouldn't do that. I'd speak to you about it first. And it all ended very friendly. It was very light-hearted. It was very nice. That was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At 9:20 that night, I got home and there was an email waiting for me, and I'd been fired and I'd had my membership taken away from me. And from what I can gather, all my words had been twisted. There were elements put in there that weren't what I said, or what wasn't said to me. Not, I mean, totally. And from what I can gather, he sent that through to Simon and Becky first. So what they read wasn't what took place that day. It was totally different. And the next thing I know, they came through and said, we totally agree with Eddie. Thank you very much for your year with us, whereas I'd been with them 16 months. And that was it, final. There was no questions, or that they would like to speak to me to hear my side of it, which was totally different. And my gut feeling was, I think he had a bit of an agenda with me and he wanted me out. And Steve was his perfect answer.
Oh, really?
Maybe because I was a bit more popular than him. I don't know. Yeah.
Wow.
But, yeah.
So you think that he already had an issue with you, and you think that maybe this whole
I don't know.
thing...
He always came across friendly, but there was always an element about him I wasn't sure. But now this is a man that's supposedly a witness for Simon. And as far as I'm concerned, with the amount of lies he told Simon about me and our conversation that day, I don't see him as a very credible witness, to be honest.
Well, in the email that Simon sent out on the Monday following my sacking, the email in which he called me a liar 3 times, he also fabricated some supposed dialogue between him and I that he claims occurred on the Friday night's meeting when he sacked me. And it's complete fabrication. None of it took place. It's just purely out of Simon's imagination. So I sent an email to the England coordinator warning him that I'd recorded the conversation and that I wouldn't tolerate any other lies or aspersions cast about me or Jacky. Now, Simon obviously jumped on that and assumed that I'd made an electronic recording of the conversation at the time we had the conversation. Well, I hadn't. I had recorded the details of the conversation while it was still fresh in my mind after the fact. His claim that he's making against me, 70% of that claim is to do with a covert recording, which he assumes I've made, and I didn't make such a recording at all. He's made an incorrect assumption, and his lawyers have failed to perform due diligence. So he's basically dug himself a huge hole, and now he's got to try and get out of it.
Right. It'd be interesting to see what action or inaction, perhaps, he takes going forward from here. So, as I said before, Steve, you'd written a beautifully written blog around the whole experience and that you had, and about what we've talked about today, but in further detail. And I will leave a link to that because I think it's worth people reading through that and getting the full story that you'd written very well. So I'll leave a link to that blog in the description.
Yeah, one of the things I would say on that as well is that one of the claims that Simon is making against me, for which he's seeking damages, is the fact that I've used extracts from emails in that blog post. Now, I've been careful in producing the post to make sure that I've withheld names and that there was no commercially sensitive material. So as far as I'm concerned, I've not committed any wrongdoing.
Yes.
That's for the courts to decide. But that's the only point I would make there. I put all those details out, all the emails on that blog post, because tells the complete picture.
Yeah.
I'm basically standing back and saying, look, I'm not going to provide too much commentary here. This is what happened. It's in the form of emails which other people exchanged at the time all this kerfuffle was unfolding. Decide for yourself. Read the blog post. Decide for yourself. And I've tried to not put too much commentary on it at all.
No, it was very well written, and you didn't really give too much commentary or opinion within it. It was quite factual. You know, this happened, then this happened, and the next day this happened. It is very much like that, and you put a lot of thought into writing that, and to not jeopardizing your stance or your integrity, or anything legal wise. And again, I'll kind of state that we had conversations before. I had a conversation before we hit record today about what we would and wouldn't discuss around the matter, and pretty much what we're discussing is what happened before Simon decided to mount a legal battle with you, right?
Yeah.
So we have put thought into not jeopardizing anything that's going on there from your
although I can't give any details about the case, obviously that would jeopardize the case. What I will say is that in engaging his lawyers to come after me, he's made my family's life hell. He really has. Now, I've already notified Simon and his lawyers about how his actions in engaging his lawyers have worsened my uncontrolled epilepsy. Prior to all this kicking off, I was having seizures each day, but they were like absent seizures. Since all this has kicked off, with all the stress and the hassle that it's caused, my condition has worsened to the point where I'm having several quite bad epileptic seizures every day, and it's directly attributed to this legal action. I mean, Jackie's witnessed one of these seizures. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it made me cry. I'd never seen anything like that, and Steve made me cry. Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Steve, and again, further, hurt.
What I will add to this,
people being affected again by actions and behaviours from.
Exactly, but what I would add here is that when I notified Simon's lawyers that this is what was happening, they ramped up their attacks to the point that's when they started demanding money, between 10 and £50,000. Now, I've not even paid my mortgage off yet, so it would ruin.
Maybe they were sniffing blood and wanted you to get in such bad health that you couldn't.
They saw my statement about my health as a weakness. I'm sure of it.
Sniffing blood.
We can go for this guy now. He's just going to cave in.
Let's finish him off.
That's not going to happen, because when anybody who has epileptic seizures can tell you, every day is a battleground, and you fight your battle because you have to, and you don't surrender. And this battle with Simon's lawyers is no different. I'm not going to back down. I will stand toe-to-toe with Simon in the court if I have to, and he's going to have to get the full 15 rounds. And I can guarantee you he's going to get a bloodied nose at the end of it, because he dug himself such a big hole in this one that it's going to have to wriggle to get out of it.
I absolutely applaud your spirit, your tenacity, your your resolve in this matter, your attitude in trying to do what's right and sticking up for yourself and sticking up for others.
I'm being supported by my members as well. I'm being supported by the Lincolnshire members. Good. A lot of people have rallied around to support me, and that's another thing that I don't think Simon appreciates. He doesn't appreciate the impact that he's had on CC as an organisation, on the Lincolnshire membership, and he fails to realise that this fight that he's launched against me is not simply against me; it's against the members of Connecting Consciousness. It's against the coordinators of Connecting Consciousness. Now, how he's going to wriggle out of this one, I do not know, because he's He's dug himself such a huge pit, and every step he takes is just a further mistake. He's just making the situation worse.
Many of them were very angry about the fact that he involved them by sending that email out about you and me. I mean, it was mainly about Steve, but I got mentioned as well. And they were angry about that. They didn't want to be involved. They just wanted a nice weekly thing where they could go and have a good chat with other people, like-minded people, and then they got involved in this battleground, and they didn't want it.
There was simply no need for it. No need for it to go this far and to bother so many people around it, and it just, as we said before, it was overreaction.
Incompetence.
And dealt the wrong way. Incompetence, did you say?
It's such a shame. It's such a shame, because we did enjoy our work, didn't we, Steve?
Oh, we did. It was hard work, and it was stressful at times because you're dealing with other people's problems.
Yeah, and I was
you've
the
got
same
to
as
put boundaries
Steve.
up.
Yeah, I was the same as Steve. I got cut off immediately as well once they fired me. I literally went into my email and it had gone, and I couldn't contact. I was in the middle of quite a deeply involved problem with a lady, and she must have thought, "You rotten cow, where have you gone?"
Randomly,
And I couldn't contact her. I couldn't. It was gone, done.
You've been severed, was the word you used earlier. You've been severed from contact from these people that relied on you, some of them.
Like a gangrenous limb.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hacked off.
Hacked off, Simon's hacking, but he's hacking off all sorts of his own limbs of connecting consciousness, and he's trying to regrow them, replace them, and get new ones to cover it up. But each time he does that, he leaves scars, and these scars are still there, are still being bared within each of these groups where this is happening. And so many of the members that are still there in the groups that you were in even won't forget that you guys disappeared, and I'm sure they know about your guys' story. And if they haven't already, the exposure of this interview and the blog that's going around, and obviously the chatter, the forbidden talking between members of such controversial subjects like this. It's within human nature, and with all of our human right to kind of question things. That's what it's all about. That's what collective consciousness is about, and all of these groups are about is questioning the narrative, questioning the authority, being able to speak freely, open-mindedly, discuss things, and feel safe and in a comfortable environment to do so with people that you make friendships with and connect with. And connect, the whole idea of connecting consciousness, right? So like I say, these scars, he's creating more and more and more of them, and I think that this is building up a lot of tension, and it's starting to overspill now. And I think there's a panic that's going on with Simon, and that's why he's getting sloppy by throwing out legal threats left, right, and centre, by chopping off these gangrenous limbs, as you said, getting rid of members, coordinators, decent, good, well-respected, well-valued ones by the members, not by Simon, and slipping up and making statements that are probably going to come back to bite him.
Yeah, what he doesn't realise,
being untruthful about it.
What he doesn't realise is that although a lot of members joined Connecting Consciousness because of Simon and watching his intel drops on YouTube and that sort of thing, they actually stay in Connecting Consciousness because of the coordinators.
That's right.
And the experience that the coordinators create for them. Yes, Simon's intel every month or whatever, it might be interesting, but they actually stay in Connecting Consciousness because of the environment that's created by the coordinators.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Parksies don't seem to see that, and what they're creating instead is, well, I think it's a personality cult that centres around Simon and Becky Parks. Sure. You see that whenever he puts a YouTube video up, and you get all the praise in the comments from members around the world. We love you, Simon, blah blah blah, and he'll be lapping that up like with his cats. Oh yeah, it'll be bread and milk to him.
And when you've got people like this lady that I had, who it probably took her, she had to build up this confidence with me before she could let go of everything that was bothering her, and she just spilled out her heart into an email. And then I was in the midst of helping her, and then for us to be severed and her not understanding where I'd gone, then she's got to try and trust somebody else. And would she do that again? And so have you then lost a member there because they've lost their trust in me as well? And yet I wasn't able to let her know why.
If Simon had sacked me and said, "Now look, Steve, I don't want to keep you in my organisation because of whatever, but you've got 7 days to sort things out, sort out another coordinator if you can for your members, tidy up any loose ends and that sort of thing, and then after 7 days we'll have to part company," we wouldn't be having this conversation now.
No,
because
I dealt with appropriately.
It's been dealt with appropriately, exactly. But he didn't do that. He didn't do that. If he was in a corporate environment, he'd be facing a unfair dismissal, and he probably would have been sacked himself because of the mistakes he's made since. But he's not in a corporate environment. He's running his own organisation, and it's got to be said, he's making a complete and utter hash of it, because I do believe the guy's he's just being quite incompetent about things, and he's demonstrating poor judgment at every toss and turn. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
tragic, really.
It is. Guys, I've really enjoyed talking to you. I think you guys are absolutely great. It's been a great conversation, very informative. Good to discuss these things. Good to discuss things from my perspective, as well as getting your, of course, getting your guys' perspective, which was amazing, around what's been going on in CC and what you've personally experienced, which I think is quite a big thing. There's, like I said, there's lots of similar kind of stories going out there, but right now, with Simon literally sending his lawyers after you, it's become maybe quite high profile, or maybe not as much as it should be, and we're trying to raise awareness. But
it will be.
It will be, and members are taking notice of, wow, what's going on over there in that that area of England CC group. And who's this guy Steve? What was his gripe? What's Simon saying? What's Steve saying?
I think the big question, though, is who's funding the legal battle? Where's all this money coming from? Because he's using London-based lawyers. Now, they won't come cheap. They won't be working for minimum wage. So where's all these funds coming from? Is it a case that when people hit the donate button on the CC page to donate to what they think is a good cause, it's actually going into Simon's coffers to fight his legal battles? These are all questions that need to be asked.
I mean, or is there an element of something that he always accuses others of? They say that people tend to project things like that. Say, oh, this M-Seeker, he's a shill, he's deep state, he's controlled opposition, he's being paid to mislead people. Well, when you're running such an organisation, like when you've got this truth movement, which over the last few years has changed, and there's been lots of people, I would say, injected in there, and lots of people taking advantage of the situation of lots of people not knowing what's going on, trying to seek the truth. Oh, you have intel, do you? Okay, well, let me pay a fee to donate this, that, and the other. Or let me buy your products because I believe you and your intel, and I want to support the cause, etc., etc. You have to wonder, especially when someone like Simon has so many people, and I believe he's one of these people that are lying about the real amount of people that are within following him. But still, saying this, still has a huge audience. You have to wonder whether all this compartmentalizing people, trying to control, be very controlling over how things are run, it makes you wonder whether there could be potentially, and I'm just throwing this out there, money being given to him to control a huge section or a big portion of free thinking minds at this day and age. So what I'm trying to say is some of this money coming from people, agencies or whatever, trying to control a big chunk of free thinking minds.
Well, he's launched a legal process now, so all I can say is discovery will be interesting. The discovery process will be interesting. If he takes me to court, there'll be lots of questions asked.
And that, that I'm very interested to see how that develops. If he, if he goes down the path of putting his money, his lawyers, putting his money where his mouth is, and trying to, like you say, I think that he's worked himself into a trap. It'll be interesting to see what he does next.
Watch this space.
Watch this space, guys. Is there anything else you guys want to discuss?
I think we've covered it for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's been really
good.
Really good to meet you guys on face to face and have this chat. It really has been good. I think it'll be really helpful for a lot of people watching as well. And guys, please go around, view the blog that Steve has written, which the link is in the description. And if you guys are ex-members, ex-coordinators, I'll leave my email in the description. Drop me an email if you've got something you want to discuss with me around this. As I've said, I'm making a lot of connections, speaking to a lot of ex-coordinators, a lot of ex-members. I've got a lot of stories, a lot of things that we haven't really talked about yet, and it's all about trying to put these pieces together and report on things, in a way that is easy for people to kind of follow along and and can relate to, rather than just blabbing out a whole mess of stuff. So contact me if need be. And it's been great, guys. No, I appreciate you spending your time talking to us today.
Yeah, it's been good. Thank you.
Yeah, loved it. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you very much for watching. See you on the next one. Follow Seeker of Truth. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.